Thank everybody for joining. Appreciate you being here. We're going to be talking today about VMware Skyline Advisor. And here's just a quick agenda. We're going to introduce myself. We'll talk a little bit about ELWs, expert-led workshops. We'll look at the actual module list. We'll talk a little bit about the different Skyline products. So there's actually 3 Skyline products. We're going to focus on Skyline Advisor Pro. And then we'll eventually get into the lab. We'll mostly just click through the lab. I'll talk about it. I don't want you guys having to worry about reading because there's a lot of documentation. I want you to be able to go back later, take this hands-on lab. These will be released in a couple of weeks. And so you'll be able to go back into them, and read through the lab then. I'd rather us kind of get into the interface, understand it. If you got questions, raise your hand. We'll call on you and we'll bring a microphone to you so that we can hear you in the headsets. So that's kind of our agenda for today. So my name is Shannon Fitzpatrick. I am a staff technical adoption manager. I cover enterprise customers. I'm based out of Nashville, Tennessee, and I have been with Hands-On Labs for 4 years. I've been a captain for 2, and I'm the captain of the Skyline Lab. So as you get into it, you'll see all the documentation. I've recently written, so if there's grammar issues or something, that's my fault. So hopefully I've caught most of them, but if there's something that you see, call it out, I'll update it later. There's my email address and my Twitter handle, or X, or whatever is the artist formerly known as Twitter. So feel free to reach out if there's something I can help with. Tricia is not here, she's sick. So we actually have Sonny Wynn, he's with the Skyline Tech marketing team. So if you ever see articles about Skyline Advisor, Skyline API, he's the guy that's writing that stuff. So definitely good to have him be here with us today. So just a quick thing to know about the expert-led. As we mentioned, we're using headphones. Please make this, if you got something you want to know, ask. You've got the team that is in Skyline all the time. So we will be glad to stop what we're doing, answer a question. We want to make it valuable to you, so please do that. Also, if you're like, hey, I want to just kind of click around, do my own thing, you're welcome to do that too. So please know that. But above all, we want you to have a good time. We want you to really benefit out of the expert-led workshop. If you haven't seen already, this is just kind of an overview of what the lab actually looks like. So you'll see a manual on the right-hand side, whereas the leftmost of the screen is going to be the actual lab where you're logging in. We're going to get into the Skyline Advisor actual dashboard. We got a test environment that you'll be able to click through. You'll be able to see our findings. You'll be able to see where we may need to do some updates. That's the kind of things that we're going to see. There are some additional Skyline sessions, so please feel free to check those out. If you want, there's some TAM customer sessions. As I mentioned, I'm a TAM. We have several sessions on Skyline. We also have some general sessions on Skyline, as well as hands-on lab. This hands-on lab that you're taking right now, you can take out here in the self-paced at any time. It's out there. This is a quick look at the 8 modules that are in our hands-on lab. And so what you will notice is that none of them are tied together. Okay, so it's not like I got to complete 1 to go to 2 or 3 to 4. You can start with 5 if you want to. But there is going to be a student check-in process that we're going to kind of walk you through because that is a little cumbersome, but we'll get you logged in. You'll have access to the main dashboard, and then from there, you can jump into any of these modules. So we'll show you how to do that. I mentioned earlier that there's actually 3 different Skyline products, So what you likely have seen is Skyline Health, which is built into vCenter. So vCenter 6, 7, or higher has Skyline Health built in. Skyline Health Diagnostics is a separate product that is an on-prem appliance that you'll deploy. And what you can do with it is you can actually grab the logs off of a host or a vCenter, and it'll crack open those logs, and it will, look for errors, it'll look for missing security patches, it'll provide links to KB articles, and it can be used offline. So if you've got a dark site that doesn't have internet access, you can use Skyline Health Diagnostics to help you troubleshoot. That is more a reactive product. So, I have a failure, I want to go and figure it out. It's actually a tool that our VMware support team uses. So, but that is available to you. And then Skyline Advisor Pro is the one that we're going to be talking about where we're getting proactive. It's also an on-prem appliance, and you're going to connect it to a cloud account, and that's where it's pulling all of the findings that we continue to update Skyline with. And so it's going to pull, your on-prem appliance is going to pull those findings. Those are being updated monthly, so 30 to 60 new findings every month of what we're seeing in VMware support. And it's tied to KB articles, best practice documents, design documents, and then your on-prem appliance is connected to your vCenters, your NSX managers, your Horizon connection servers, login site, the various products that it can connect to, and then it's going to compare with this. I think we're over 1,400 total findings. So it's going to identify, well, maybe you only got 200 findings out of that 1,400. We'll show you how we can actually see that here in the lab. This is just a quick diagram to kind of show you how Skyline Advisor Pro works. Like I mentioned, we got an on-prem appliance. It needs 443 access to 2 websites. And you see those listed there in that gray box at the top. And then that is what allows it to pull those updates, allows it to use Log Assist. So we'll talk about Log Assist too, where whenever you open a support request with VMware support, one of the very first things they tell you is, hey, we need you to upload logs. With Log Assist through Skyline, yes sir. It's got a question right here. One appliance, okay, so the question is, do you need one appliance per vCenter? No. One appliance can support multiple endpoints. So I have a customer that has 50 vCenters tied to one appliance. Say again? Does that include NVS? AVS? Not today. Nope, does not connect to AVS today. But you bring up an interesting question because where you would want, you can have multiple collectors, so just so you know, where you would want to have multiple collectors would be if I'm in different geos. So like, I got EMEA vCenters, and I got US vCenters, or I got East and West US. Because whenever you go to use that Log Assist feature that I was mentioning, I've opened a support request, I want to upload logs through Skyline, I don't want to be pulling those back across my network and then out the appliance. So that's where I would want an appliance that's close to the site where I'm going to be uploading logs from. That would be the one time. But that being said, if you look it up, Skyline is, I think, the only VMware product that has no configuration maximums.
That is correct.
Never have seen that. So this is also, and I should preface this as well, the Skyline Advisor Pro is included with your production support. So production support or higher on any of the managed products. So vSphere, NSX, RE Operations Manager, whatever, any of the products that it currently supports. If you have production support or higher, you have Skyline. So there's no licenses you have to purchase or anything like that. There's no configuration maximums. So all of that, in my opinion, makes it, man, why am I not using it, right? So, and we're going to get into where we're really helping you to be proactive in identifying issues in your environment so that then you can, fix things before they fail in your environment. And I know as an engineer, that was something I always was trying to focus on, my day 2 ops. What can I do to make sure the business doesn't know that I'm here? I want to do everything I can to keep business running and, take care of things so that they're not coming to me breathing down my neck saying, hey, why did this fail? I'm getting ahead of that with Skyline. And I'll be honest with you, it's also helping VMware. Because if you're fixing things before they fail, then you're not having to open a support request. So that's helping our support team too. Two-way street there. Any questions on the setup, the diagram that I'm showing here before I move on from it? Okay. So now, enough talking, right? Let's get into the lab. So hopefully you guys have already gotten into the lab there. You've already enrolled. You can, once you get in, you can search for Skyline. You'll see this proactive support with Skyline Advisor Pro. You're going to click enroll and start the lab. It will take a few minutes for this lab to spin up. Usually it does if it's not already pre-populated. Let's see. Looks like it's gonna, they've already got some out there, so that's good. At any time, if you guys need to leave, step away, please feel free to do so. Like I mentioned, this hands-on lab is next door in the self-paced, so you can come back and pick up with any of the modules that you want to go through. If we look at the lab guidance, that's where we can see the different modules, like I was mentioning, so that if you get just 1 or 2 done and you got to leave, you can come back over here in the self-paced later and finish up others. But that being said, let's actually get into it. So you're going to open up Firefox. And the first thing it says is, hey, enter the email address that you're logged in with, okay? I'm going to log in with my account. I got RSA enabled, so I got to go and log in there.
What's that for?
And I am in the hands-on lab org. All right, this is the main dashboard that you will see. Okay, so we'll start walking through some of these features. I'm sorry that I can't get everybody logged in and using it, but this is the primary dashboard that we're going to see whenever we log into Skyline. Now, if you notice over here on the left-hand side, it tells me I have 177 active findings. So I mentioned to you earlier that we have over 1,400 findings that Skyline is checking for. This environment that I have, of those 1,400, has 177. And if I look underneath there, I can kind of see, okay, of that 177, 10 are critical, 127 are moderate, 40 are trivial. I'll show you in a little bit how we can actually filter that and see what those are. But you also see the findings by breakdown is by category. So it's broken down by network, storage, security-related findings. Again, I'll show you how we can filter this. I can change that category and say, hey, just show me based on finding type. So is it a configuration issue? Configuration issue may be something that I can fix without taking a host down. And so, such as NTP not running. That's one of the findings that we'll see. I also see that there's upgrade recommendations. So I know that that's going to require probably some downtime for that particular host. Here in this area, we see where the actual collectors, and we see the collector health. We can go into the individual collectors, and I can see the different endpoints that it is configured to attach to. So if you notice here, I'm connected to NSXT, a vCenter, ARIA Automation, and VCF. And all of those endpoints are good right now. What I have seen sometimes is you need 443 access from that on-prem collector to those different endpoints. And so sometimes if you've deployed an on-prem collector in one site and you're talking to another site, your networking team will come behind you and say, well, why do we have appliance over here talking to this site over here? And they'll just shut it off. And so it will actually show up here. And you'll see that your collector shows as partially healthy because some of the endpoints are good, others aren't. Also, if maybe your password gets locked, that you're using to connect to those different endpoints, then it will sit there and will show you that there's a problem with communication. But right now, I can see all endpoints are good. You also notice the version 3.501. That was actually released last week?
It was, yep.
Yeah,
yep.
Okay, so last week, that was a brand new version that was released. You can have that on-prem appliance set to auto-update itself. So you can have it, checking midnight every day, or 2 a.m. on Saturdays, or whatever you want to configure that schedule for. And if it sees a new version out there, it will update itself. So that's another thing that I really like about this is hey, I'm getting a tool that's going to keep itself updated. I don't have to keep updating the tool. So that's a really nice feature. And if I'm going back to the main dashboard here, you see this inventory summary. So I can see how many vCenters, how many hosts, how many virtual machines I have that are attached to this environment. And so the bigger environment you have, and you have all those different vCenters attached, you're able to really kind of see an overall view of your entire environment. Also, if you notice just to the far right, we have that notifications tab. So that's a new feature, got added probably, 6 months, a year ago. And what it does is it starts notifying me if I have products that are soon to be out of support. So if I got a product that is less than 90 days before it's out of support, that will start showing up here. And that's actually what you're seeing is end of technical guidance. So you got end of general support and then end of technical guidance. So 6.7 is going to be end of technical guidance in 86 days. And it's telling me, hey, you got at least one host that's running this product. So you need to obviously go and try to get that updated. And I can scroll down, let's see here. A little bit further, I can see activity over the last 7 days. So I mentioned earlier how monthly we're updating, new findings. So I may come in here and see, hey, all of a sudden I got a spike in new findings. So I want to go see why, what was released. We'll get into that here in a minute. And then finally, you got the operational overview. And I tell everybody, Sonny, you can kind of plug your ears. I tell them this is eye candy. So what this does is it gives me kind of graphical charts of different findings in my environment. So if you notice, it's telling me like right here that I've got 3 clusters that do not have DRS enabled. Now, it would be awesome if I could click that and it tell me what those 3 clusters are. But if I click it, it just pops the pie chart out. But I'll show you in a minute how I can actually see that in the findings. Same thing with HA, letting me know if I got a particular number of clusters that don't have HA enabled. I can see a quick view of the different hardware that I have for servers, what version of BIOS they're running, the ESXi version. And if you notice, and I can just kind of mouse over this, and it tells me, you know, hey, what version of the BIOS is actually being run, okay? And what percentage of my environment those numbers are. And then down a little bit further, we get into, you know, the type of OS, what's the current status of VM tools, all of that we can see, and I can take snapshots of this, you know, and put it into a report, but right now, there's not a way to export this. Yes, sir. Got a question over here.
The BIOS option,
yes.
Is that pulling the versions from the partner plugins that you get in Lifecycle Manager? Or how is it keeping up with HP Synergy hardware or Dell servers? How is it comparing that?
It's actually just pulling that version itself. It's just seeing a version. It's not getting much deeper into that, right?
So it's not looking at component drivers or anything. It's just looking at the overall BIOS of the motherboard.
Yes, but now you will see that there are some findings that are related to like firmware, and you know, or this particular Intel driver or something like that. And so we can see the level of versions that are being run, but we don't get any deeper than that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
So that's what comes out when it's connecting to vCenter, when it's connecting to ESX. If you add on the Dell support, right, then it goes deeper, and then it gives you a little bit more information. With that being said, it's only for Dell, not HP, not Cisco, not anything of that.
Yes, there is a Dell Support Assist hook into Skyline.
And
yeah, just Dell right now. Yep. Got a question in the back.
And then last but not least, that operational view, if you have operations tied to this with the plugin, it will then let you go into operations itself and then start looking at deeper stuff.
Operations Manager SaaS version. It's got to be the SaaS version, right? I think it does. And what's cool about that is that if you've got the SaaS version of ARIA Operations Manager, then it's like you click on an inventory item, a host or whatever, you know, that I'm having this particular issue, it immediately takes me to Operations Manager. And so now I'm seeing, I'm in that portal, you know, and so it is a seamless change. You don't really realize that now I'm in a totally different product. So that's pretty neat.
So question, so since it has the Dell integration, would it have a deeper integration with like a VxRail cluster?
Yes. Yep.
Okay, so second question. This is all based on online, having cloud to upload your logs. Is there like a offline version?
There is not. No, not for Skyline Advisor Pro. There is Skyline Health Diagnostics that is a separate appliance, a separate product that will give you some of this, but it's going to be more reactive, whereas this is, you know, hey, I'm identifying potential issues based on that cloud component of findings that I'm able to pull from.
Okay.
So
yeah, we have a dark site, so there's no way I can get.
You're going to have to use Skyline Health Diagnostics for our dark site.
Thank you.
Yep. Okay, so next tab here is inventory. So I can go back to the dashboard, you know, but the inventory here is where I can see all components that are currently attached to Skyline. Now, I mentioned earlier that, you know, I've got a customer that's got 50 vCenters that are attached, right? And so what happens is they buy a company, they assimilate that company, their environment into theirs, and it's totally different naming schemes. And so then they're trying to figure out, well, you know, hey, we got this alert on this particular host and we don't even know where it is. So here I can come in here and I could search for like that particular host name, and it'll immediately drill down and show me what vCenter, what cluster, where's this host at. So the larger the environment you have that's attached, you're really going to see this inventory view become a valuable tool for you. You know, whenever you're trying to locate where are these alerts coming from, you know, you'll be able to find that in here.
Not only that, if you take a look, like if you have a whole bunch of them, you can see all the versioning, so that way you could identify anything that has been forgotten about.
Yes, that's very true. Okay, so now I'm moving into findings and recommendations. Come on over, Sonny. So I'm moving into findings and recommendations, and this is where we're getting into the active findings of this environment. Okay, so you got a question?
Yeah, so with the findings and the recommendation stuff that you're talking about, the inventory it's giving you, does it tie in anything that might need to be required or to be updated first before you do that? Sort of like you see in some of the lifecycle manager, it tells you how, the order of what...
recommendations.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll show you that here in a minute.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not in inventory, but...
It's in a different part, but I'll show you, because that's one of the next things that we'll talk about. Findings and recommendations. So if you notice, this is by default sorted by severity. So most critical to least critical. I can change that. I can click on it and say, hey, show me least critical to most critical. You see here, I got a total of 180 findings, right? I can search based on the finding ID. So every finding, if you notice, has it starts with like the product that particular finding relates to. So I can sort and find specific things related to just automation. I can sort by, I like first observed, like what is the oldest that I have, oldest finding in my environment, or I can click first observed again and I can see what is the newest finding in my environment. So this is where I get into, if I'm checking this weekly, that's what I recommend to my customers. I'm like, hey, block off 30 minutes on your calendar. Every Monday, I'm going to go and check Skyline and see, is there anything new? Because like I said, it's being updated all the time. So what new might I see in my environment? So I can do all that. I can export all of these findings into a CSV, but these filters over here are really important as well, because they're actually aggregate filters. So if I want to really narrow my focus, I mentioned earlier I've got 180 total findings. I can say, you know what, I want to focus on just vCenter, this particular vCenter, any critical findings in this vCenter, any critical security findings. And I can keep filtering on down and I can apply, and then now I'm only looking at 2. So I had 180 total. Now I'm narrowing my focus of, we've been having some issues with that particular vCenter. I want to check it out. Do I have anything, that's critical that I might need to fix? At any time I can clear these. I'm back to looking at 180, and I can say, I do this often with my customers. I say, okay, last time I checked it was, beginning of the month. So do I have anything new since August the 1st? I don't in this environment, so that's good. I can also, with any of these, say, you know what, if I click on a finding, I can go in, see what it's telling me. It's resolved in update 3. Here's the specific KB article about it. So I think I was talking to one of y'all earlier, it's like whenever I was an engineer, I could figure out, okay, hey, I got this issue. How do I resolve it? Skyline's going to give you the link to the VMware documentation of how to fix it. Because there's plenty of other blogs and other information out there that sometimes they don't get it right in a supported manner. So now I want to use VMware's documentation. But if you notice, I scroll down and it tells me, okay, it's this particular vCenter. You're running 702, this build number. In order to fix this issue, you need to be running 703i or higher, okay? But let's just say, I think we were talking earlier, if I decide that, you know what, I can't do updates right now. So I can come in and say, you know what, this finding, this finding, this finding, I can hide them. And so now, if you notice, I'm down to 177 findings. Now, those findings that I've hidden are still being recorded, still being checked against the environment. And so at any time, I can then come back into hidden findings. I can see which ones, okay, yeah, you know what, I'm gonna eventually work on this one. I can unhide it. And so you see now if I go back into my active findings, now I'm at 178 total findings. So that's a way that I can kind of clean up my view if you want to. At any time I can hide the findings, I can select all of them and unhide them. Bring them back into my active view. Got a question? Okay. You were saying earlier about upgrade recommendations. How do I know what I should do? I really like this tab here called Upgrade Recommendations because there's a couple things that help me with this. I can sit here and say, okay, where am I going to get the most bang for my buck, right? I only got an hour to work on upgrades. So if I look right here, notice it says, okay, you got one object that has 40 findings. Okay, so I might want to upgrade that one object. Down here, I've got 46 objects, and I'm only going to fix 16 findings. That's not really good use of my time right now, maybe. So, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to drill down into that particular one. And if you notice, it's sitting here and it's throwing up issues detected. So what it's doing is it's actually going to the interoperability matrix and it's checking all the products that I have attached to Skyline, and it's letting me know, you know what, if I go into the show details here, it's telling me, oh look, if you're going to actually upgrade this host from 6.7 to 6.7 update 3, then you got a problem because you need to upgrade vSAN first before you do that.
For compatibility, does this support third-party products?
No.
No.
Just VMware products.
Okay.
And only ones that you have attached to Skyline.
Okay.
So that's another thing that you got to kind of remember. It's like, okay, I need to make sure all endpoints, products, VMware products that I can attach to Skyline, I need to be able to have them there mainly because of this interoperability matrix. It's only going to see what is attached to Skyline, only VMware products.
Yeah, I was just making sure because, whenever you talk about compatibility, let's say I have Zerto
Yep.
in that environment,
Yep.
I don't want to upgrade past my support.
Yes. I have a customer that has done that. They hurried up and upgraded to vCenter 7, and Zerto didn't have the plug-in yet for 7. So went like 2 weeks without their backups. So some of that you're going to have to take on yourself, right? But that being said, I can come back in here and I can say, okay, look, if I wanted to upgrade this host from 6.7 to 7.0 update 2, I'm good. You see my vCenter is good, my vSAN is good, all of that products are checking out there.
We're supposed to skip update 2.
Yeah, you are. Make sure your host can support it, right? That's the other thing. The other thing here is we can go into like historical trends, and so we can kind of see over time how has my environment grown with regards to maybe affected objects. And I can click on any of these and actually see the new findings. Why was there a spike? 8.19, that may have been when I added some new hosts into the environment. Or maybe that was when VMware uploaded new findings, and now all of a sudden I'm seeing those in my environment. So, and I can also export that information as well. The insight reports, this is where if you are a customer Success 360 account, or if you have a TAM like me, then we can come in and we can run reports directly out of your Skyline environment, and then we're able to ingest that into some of our different internal tools to provide you even additional reporting based on that. But that's where these are run from. The log assist is where we start saving you guys time whenever you've got a problem and you've had to open an SR. Unfortunately, I don't have any open SRs that I see in here. But if you go today, you open up a new SR, on a particular issue, then I can, within about a minute, I'll see it appear in Skyline. And then I can go in and I can just select, okay, this support request, go grab the logs from this vCenter, this host, initiate upload. And so then what happens is it starts streaming from those different endpoints through the collector and up to your actual support request. Now today, you know, if you don't have Skyline, the first thing is, you know, hey, you got to do this roll-up process, you got to download it, do this roll-up process, you got to FTP it. You hope that it gets there. Here, we keep a history. So we can, and I don't have any on this in this account, but I would have a history here of showing the SR number. Who was it that uploaded the logs? Did it go successfully? How long did it take? What files were uploaded? All that, it will be tracked in the cloud account. So now what's important about that is if, for whatever reason, my local collector dies on me and I have to redeploy it. You don't have to back it up or anything because there's no real stored data other than the configuration of your endpoints. I can stand up a new collector, reconnect to my endpoints, and all my history would still be here. So that at any time I can come back and I can search for specific SRs. Well, you know, did John upload the the log data for that SR? So there's a couple different ways about that, is that if I have Skyline admin role access, then I can see all open SRs for my organization. If I don't, I'll only see my individual SRs. So where that can come in handy, and you guys have probably seen it as well, is you know, if somebody's on PTO or they're out sick and you know there's emails going back and forth, hey, we need you to upload the logs, then somebody else that has Skyline admin access, they could go in and actually upload logs to a support request. Where does that save you time? Today, the averages I've seen is that if you across our support organization, if you use FTP to upload logs, it takes an average of 19 hours to upload logs. Average. With Skyline Log Assist, it takes 4. Average. So think about that. You know, we got a massive problem. I need to get help. I got to get the logs to them. Now I'm able to get logs to them quicker, which helps with quicker time to resolution, right?
Are you saying 19 hours for me to upload my logs?
Yes.
That's it. I mean, I'm guessing if I'm talking about a vCenter that has a ton of hosts and everything else, I mean.
Average.
Okay.
Average. Yeah. I mean, you know, and so you might upload logs in an hour, right?
It could be sooner. So
yeah.
Here's my scenario. Before I was VMware.
That's crazy.
I was an engineer, right? I work out of Boston, and my data center is over in California. It took me 3 days to download the logs to my desktop and failed because I'm competing against data syncs. I'm competing against backup. It was a nightmare. It took me a week to upload it. On the flip side, it took me about 15 minutes to pull down a log locally, upload it to the FTP site, hoping it'll get there, hoping it's not not corrupted.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of guessworks, you know? Now, the other thing, of course, is within this, right?
Move over a little bit so you're standing in front of the camera.
Oh,
yeah.
So in this scenario is if you have a consistent problem that has not been fixed yet, the GSS team will then request additional log bundles. And if you say, hey, for this particular SR, let's just auto-approve it, they're going to go back to the same exact box and keep pulling it. That's going to save you days and weeks worth of effort, right? Because let's say, for example, same ticket, they contact you at the end of the day, you don't find out till tomorrow, you start working on it, and that's a gap that you keep losing here. They'll keep pulling till they get enough information, therefore, you're now down to a few days instead of a few weeks.
Yeah, so there's actually a couple different methods with regards logs. I just went into a different environment, different demo environment. I think I got some SRs out here. Log library at least. Dang it. Well, thought I did. All right, but he was talking about where you could auto approve. So if you notice, there's this setting right here. If I go into log transfer request, I can auto approve it. That is a per user setting. So you can come in here and you can say, hey, VMware, one, they can't request logs unless I have an OpenSR. And if I have an OpenSR, I can tell them, hey, go grab the logs from this vCenter, this host, whatever. They can initiate that request. If I have it set to auto approve, then it's just gonna automatically start uploading those logs. It's gonna email me that Shannon from VMware has requested logs and it was auto approved. So you're gonna get notification of that. You're also gonna see that documented in that log library as well. So you can go in, you can see, was it just auto approved? Or if I didn't have auto approve, it would actually show up as a request here and it's just a radio button. Do you approve or deny? If you don't approve it within 24 hours, then it expires. And that will show up in log library as well. So I got a couple different methods of being able to get my logs to a support request. One, I'm going in, I'm selecting this SR, this endpoint, upload logs. So I'm pushing the logs. Or I can have VMware support initiate the request, I can auto approve it, or I can manually approve it. A couple different methods there. So any questions on any of that? Awesome, very good. So I know that we've had to kind of bounce around and all that. I appreciate you sticking with us. But if there's something specific that you would like to ask, he can get into API. There's API hooks where you can tie into ServiceNow or Jira, or I don't know if you want to talk about that a quick minute.
Sure.
Why don't you stand up here so that you're on
as
camera.
you all know, this is a read-only product that says, hey, by the way, here are your findings, here are your inventory, right? But the reality is there's an API component to this that you can pull off. So like, for example, what Shannon said earlier on, you can actually have an API run every Monday to say, hey, give me the top 5 findings for network. Email it to the networking team. Give me the top 10 for this. Send it to somewhere else. So because it's API driven, you can then use REST API to send anywhere else, right? So I've got a blog section, blogs.vmware.com/KB. You could always reach out to us and then we'll point you to it. But it'll show you how to do it in Python, PowerShell, curl, and then you can send it anywhere you want. As Shannon said, I've got some stuff to Jira, email, PagerDuty, ServiceNow, Slack, and I'm continue adding it in. I've got customers asking for New Relic. I've got customers asking for a few other things as well. The goal, of course, is to say that, you can actually extend this beyond the other stuff that you do. The hope is that it reduces the amount of work that you do, right? We don't want you to get these findings, go create a ticket in ServiceNow, and then add all these stuff when you could just insert it in with an API.
Yeah. Got a question in the back.
So you say this is a read-only application, so this only needs read-only writes into your vCenter and all that stuff?
Good question. You can actually look at Skyline. I'm on a bad.
Yeah.
Skyline Log Assist. Can't type. Log Assist permissions. And there is a KB article that goes into exactly what permissions you need to make Log Assist work. So yes, you can have like read-only, but like if you notice, like here with the vSphere, it's like, okay, you start off with read-only, but then you got to add, I think it's 6 additional permissions. So what you would do is you would create a new role that has these permissions, then create you an AD user account, local account, whatever, and assign that role so that it gets explicitly those permissions.
Now, with that being said, there are some applications, let's say, for example, NSX.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, for the longest time, you'd have to set it as NSX administrator. Even though it's read-only, that's the only account that they made. Recently, you notice that there is an NSX auditor with a few of the functions. That was because of us. we keep asking them to make it as read-only as possible because we only need to know about the versioning. We don't need to make any changes. And so that's the good question, by the way.
That is a good question. That brings up something else I wanted to show you with regards to the findings and recommendations. I use this all the time, and that's the search feature. So I can come in at any time and say, hey, is there any snapshot-related issues in this environment? And so we talked earlier about the more than 3 snapshots. I can come in here and see, okay, hey, here's the virtual machine, here's the name, here's the vCenter where they're located at. And with any of these findings, I can export this data into a CSV. So all of this data that we see down here in this bottom chart, I can dump that into a CSV, and then from there, I could ingest that into Power CLI, go and fix that issue. I was talking earlier, I had a customer that we got Skyline stood up. I pull up this snapshot finding, more than 3. I don't know how many more than 3. It's more than 3. That's a critical finding. They see it and they're like, oh, that's a production box, And so they said, man, we're always hearing about how slow it is and blah blah blah, And I said, well, why don't y'all go check and see how many snapshots on it? 21. So, and immediately Skyline showed them that. It showed, man, this is a problem, right? So immediately it helped them to get that cleaned up, get those consolidated, and then all of a sudden their app started working better. Go figure, right? So, but I use the keyword search a good bit with my customers. I'll come in, it's amazing how many times you'll see NTP related issues. That NTP is not running, and you know what happens. It's like that service is not set to automatically start and stop with the host. And so maybe you start it, you patch it later on, you reboot it, and that service never starts again. This immediately tells you if NTP is not running on a host, what host, and so I can go and get that fixed. So I can look for keywords like whenever we had Log4j come out, right? I could immediately come in here and say, hey, do I have any Log4j issues in my environment? Now this is where we can't drill down further than actually seeing the version that you're running. So you remember with Log4j that we didn't have patches for a week or so, and you had to do this workaround. There was a KB article on how to fix it with a workaround. We can't see that level if you've applied the workaround. We can see that you applied a version that has the fix, but we can't see down to that level. The other thing is this findings catalog. So if you noticed on the side here, you can see when was the most recent releases, August the 8th. And so we push that out to the cloud component. Everybody's on-prem appliance pulls those findings and says, hey, do I have any of those new findings in my environment? So that's why you may see sometimes the number of findings actually go up, even though you're working hard on getting that number to come down because there's some new findings. But if I scroll down to the bottom of this first page, notice we're looking for 1,445 findings total right now. And so of that, we had, 180 findings of 1,400. I can also keyword search in this as well. So I can say, are we looking for Log4j? That was one of the questions for my customers. Whenever Log4j first hit, they were like, hey, are we even looking for it? And at the time, whenever it first came out, we weren't. But if you notice, all of these products, all these findings, again, notice at the beginning, you can tell what product we're actually looking for Log4j. And I can click on that and say, okay, this was a particular security vulnerability. It's fixed in this version. Here is the link to the security advisory. Here's the KB article on how to fix it.
So just to let you all know, normally if there is a critical VMSA that comes out and it has a fix, within 24 hours it lands into Skyline and then it reports back to you. For Log4j, it came out, it took us a week to get the solution to you, therefore it took a week before it lands into Skyline.
Yeah.
All right, but for the most part, it's usually 24 hours. Hey, Shannon, these are the newest findings that you'll see right over here. You'll notice that there is a vSphere/diag to it. So,
Yes.
as you all know, Skyline has made a few updates, right? So, if you have Log Insight and you tie to Skyline, you now have an option to enable logs, which means not only are we looking at, hey, here are your versioning, here are some of the problems that you potentially will have. With the diag portion, it says, oh, by the way, we scan your logs for these particular diag problems. Right now, it's just vSphere. And then it'll tell you, oh, by the way, you're having this problem because it's in your logs. It keeps reporting back. So what you're hearing from me is it's now getting smarter about, hey, you have these potential problems. It may not have been down and out, but it's so chatty to your log server that you should probably take a look at it before it becomes an outage.
And that is brand new. That just came out, last week? Last week. So if you have Log Insight or what is it, RE Operations for Logs, I think?
It is, yep.
Then it's ingesting that data. You can have it ingest that data into Skyline, and you're going to start seeing, I think right now, is it 12 new findings?
11 new findings. So keep in mind, this is an opt-in scenario, right? So everything else that you're seeing here, you deploy Skyline, and then they'll give you all the results right off the bat, like the 180. If you want to take it to the next level with the diag piece, then you have to enable it by opting into it. Then you get to see additional findings. But you don't have to. That's up to you. We thought it's valuable enough for you to be able to see it and go from there. You could always opt out, by the way, if you don't feel comfortable. Notice
this in this environment, see how its collectors are partially healthy because I'm only talking to one endpoint, NSX-V, and I'm having communication issues with these other endpoints. I mean, some of them I've had for a couple of years. So, but if you mouse over this, I think it actually gives me a KB article on, hey, how do I maybe resolve some of these communication issues, with my different endpoints. It could be, like I said, they've cut off 443 access, your, account has expired, locked, whatever. So that's some of the things that you'll see there.
Quick question.
Yeah.
For the opt-in, is it a license or is it just enabling?
Everything in Skyline is free. As long as you have production, Success 360, as long as you have a entitlement, it's free. It doesn't matter if you have the perpetual license or you have the vSphere Plus license. That's all covered. Now, earlier on, Shannon mentioned, hey, if you are a Success 360 customer, a new section will pop up, but you don't pay for anything. As well as if you have a TAM, there's a health check in there that you can leverage as well. Now, earlier on, just seconds ago, Shannon showed you the collector. When you deploy Skyline, to be honest with you, there's no reason not to deploy Skyline, but when you do, weekly, check to make sure that, your team hasn't changed the passwords on your accounts, hasn't, set up new firewalls to block, because 2 years out, that meant within that 2 years time frame, there could have been additional problems that you may have faced, but you didn't know about.
Yeah, so you always want to work on keeping your collector healthy. So if you ever log in and you see red, you need to try to figure out why. And maybe it's we shut off that vCenter, so we're no longer needing to attach to it. So you can actually go into the management interface of your the on-prem appliance, and that's where you configure the actual connections. You can go in and remove that. Like, okay, we decommed that vCenter. I no longer need access to it. I can remove that. I can add the new one. Whatever. So anytime there's changes in the environment, I want to make sure that I'm adding those changes into Skyline so that I'm continuing to stay monitored and proactive in getting ahead of any issues. Any additional questions? In the back.
Thank you. I think this looks great from a single user perspective, but if I want to let my team loose on this, is there a way to track who's working on what, or make it a bit more obvious? Take notes, say, okay, teammate A is working on this one, don't overlap someone else, more people on the same task, right?
Yeah, I think not. I mean, Sonny, I don't believe there is, right?
So within the GUI, within the findings and recommendation, there isn't. You can export that out, put it into a ticket, and then you and your team can work on it through the ticket.
Yes.
If you have Success 360 and you can create a report out of it, what you could do is there's a note section, and within that note section, you say Team A member is doing that, Team B member is doing that. That way, you have a record of it, you can share it to your management, and that's the way to do it.
And I will tell you also this, that you can have multiple orgs set up for different teams. Because I actually have customers do that. They've got like a Horizon team, right? A VDI team, and we only want to see Horizon and VDI, you know, our vCenters. We don't want to see the infrastructure team stuff. So you can actually set up 2 different orgs, have a collector in each org, and they're only connected to, you know, those 5 vCenters, and these are only connected to these 3 vCenters and 2 Horizon connection servers. And it's 2 different portals that the different teams have access to. You know, one team, all they can see is this portal. Another team, all they can see is this. There may be somebody that wants to switch back and forth, and so that's what you saw me doing earlier. I can come in here and I can say change org, and I can go to, you know, okay, I'm in currently Skyline demo production, so let's just say that was my Horizon team environment. Now I want to go over to my infrastructure environment. And you'll notice I'm going out there, I'm switching orgs, I'm logging into it. Now I'm into the Skyline Advisor portal for that team. So that may be another way that you kind of want to split things up. They both tie to the same EA. So as long as you're linking it to an enterprise entitlement that has production support or higher, you can have as many orgs as you want, many as collectors as you want. You can split it up, you know, to that extent. So I have seen customers do that. If you want to get down to that granular division there. Anything else? Awesome. Appreciate everybody coming in, hanging with us. Sorry that we had some hands-on labs issues. You can go and take this over in the self-paced, you know, to actually kind of drill into the manual. They will be available usually within 1 to 2 weeks after the show. You'll actually have this particular one. But if you got any particular questions, you want to come up offline, please ask. For those that have stuck it out, if you want a VMware fanny pack or bum bag, I think is what the UK called it, come up here and get you one. So thank you, everybody.